What are the top 3 or 4 pieces of evidence you've seen about UFOs? Pictures, videos, documents, that obviously you can talk about publicly.
Well, I think number one is probably the whole Rendlesham Forest incident from the UK, sometimes called Britain's Roswell, although it wasn't a crash, it was actually a landing. But that's a great case because you've got everything in this single incident that makes a case compelling. It took place over 3 consecutive nights. It involved multiple witnesses. Most of them were military. The UFO was briefly tracked on radar. And best of all, it left physical trace evidence, burn marks on the ground and scorch marks up the sides of some of the trees. This Rendlesham Forest lies between 2 United States military bases in the UK. And the deputy base commander, who was very skeptical about sightings on the first and second night, he himself saw this thing on the third night. And the file, or the Ministry of Defense file on this, has been declassified and released. So it's not just stories. There's a paper trail that people can follow. So I think that's case number one. Case number two is almost literally, as we speak, 30 years old. It's generally known as the Cosford incident, a wave of sightings that took place in 1993 over large parts of the UK. Huge triangular-shaped craft, narrow beam of light, low-frequency humming sound, lots of police and military witnesses. I led the investigation. Again, my case file from the MOD has been declassified and released and sent to the National Archives. So again, this isn't just hearsay.
Yeah.
People can actually read the case file for themselves. And then I think third, I would say, obviously, everything happening in the US right now, those US Navy videos. And again, they didn't just show up. Well, actually, one of them did. I was going to say show up on YouTube. Actually, one of the 3 did some years ago, but that's another story. The point I was going to make is that they are on the Department of Defense website, confirmed as authentic US Navy videos, with a press release saying that and saying that they remain unidentified. So again, you've got this paper trail that you can follow, whether it's those US Navy videos or some of the other photos and videos that have come out since. And of course, everything going on in Congress right now on this. We've had one set of public hearings last May, and there are going to be more hearings coming up. I'm being reliably informed. And some witnesses have already given behind closed doors testimony to some of these committees and subcommittees, sometimes to the congressional representatives, mostly in the first instance, I think, to some of the staffers who are just trying to get everything prepped for what will, I'm sure, be at least one more public hearing this year, maybe more. And all this stems from the fact that there are multiple UAP provisions in the newly signed defense bill, which again is unheard of. The idea that this is now written into the legislation, into the omnibus defense bill, where basically the Pentagon sets out pretty much everything that it's going to do. But Congress has mandated that there be a report on everything that's been learned since January 1st, 1945 onwards, any programs that the government has run, any materials that they've recovered. And in parallel with that, one of the other provisions in the bill is a sort of whistleblower clause, which says that anyone with knowledge of these programs, direct or indirect, can come forward and testify to Congress, even if they think that they're still bound by a non-disclosure agreement or any other form of secrecy oath. The legislation has released them from that. and said that they can come forward and testify to Congress. So there's a lot going on right now.
Wow, that is amazing. But have you actually seen yourself, like, videos that are not public, pictures that are not public? You said the Rendlesham Forest, like, you saw, physical evidence yourself, like put your hands on it, or?
Yeah, I've seen some physical evidence, photos, videos, some materials that people say are anomalous. I don't know. I don't have the scientific expertise to evaluate them. Others do.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
I think the way I would characterize it is to say that I have not seen a smoking gun
Yeah.
that absolutely definitively proves to me beyond any reasonable doubt that this is extraterrestrial. But collectively, I've seen a lot of evidence that suggests that, shall we say, there's more to this than just aircraft lights and weather balloons, or even
Sure.
spy balloons.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. At this point, right? With the balloons, for sure. Just a quick. I always found this funny that with all these sightings and everything, that they talk about lights and lights and lights, and I think these beings traverse the universe, and they're still using LED lights. That sounds odd to me. But who knows, right? I don't know what to make of that. I always just found that odd that they're just using like spotlights or these.
Well,
But
I take the point. I mean, people often say, why would UFOs need lights? And of course, when we think of that, it does sound a little absurd, because you imagine a commercial aircraft with its anti-collision lights and things like that. But then that's an anthropocentric perspective. The fact of the matter is, we have no idea what these lights are. I mean, they might be anti-collision lights, for all I know. If there are lots of UFOs flying around, maybe they do need to steer clear of each other like that. But it's equally likely that they could be something else. The light could simply be a byproduct of the energy source, propulsion system. We have no idea.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. Right. That is true.
I always have a problem with people who say aliens wouldn't do this because, and I'm like, wait, how do you know?
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong there. Yes, and right, and the flip verse of that, that is the strange high wire to balance on, right? It is that we don't know, and anyone really making definitive statements one way or the other, I would say, is an issue.